Stop scrolling. Seriously. If you receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or any federal benefit payment, you need to hear this right now. Because something is changing with how banks are handling government deposits. And most people don't find out about it until they go to use their money and it's just not there. Or it's frozen. Or there's a hold on it they didn't expect. So stay with me for a minute, because I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening, why it's happening, and most importantly, what you need to do to make sure your money is safe and accessible every single month. Let me start by saying this. You worked for this money, or you earned it through years of paying into the system, or someone you love depends on it to survive. So the idea that a bank rule, something buried in fine print that nobody told you about, could interfere with that deposit landing the way it always has, that's not a small thing. That is a big deal. And I want to make sure you're protected. So let's talk about what's actually going on. For years, if you received Social Security or any federal benefit, there was a rule in place, a federal protection, that said your bank had to make those funds available to you quickly. The government deposits your money electronically, it hits your account, and you should be able to access it. Simple, right? That's how most of us understood it. And for a long time, that's more or less how it worked. But here's what a lot of people don't realize. Banks have always had certain rights when it comes to your account. They can place holds on deposits under certain circumstances. They can freeze accounts if they suspect unusual activity. They can offset funds, meaning if you owe the bank money, like on an overdraft or a loan, they can take it directly from your deposit before you ever see it. And in recent years, as banking regulations have been updated and as financial institutions have quietly changed their internal policies, some of these practices have started showing up in ways that directly affect Social Security recipients. Now, in 2026, there are new developments happening in this space that every beneficiary needs to understand. Let me walk you through them one by one, in plain English, because this stuff can get complicated fast, and I don't want to lose you. The first thing you need to know about is something called the 2-month rule. This is actually a federal protection that has existed for a while, but it's being talked about more right now because banks are testing the edges of it. Here's how it works. If you receive Social Security, SSI, veterans benefits, railroad retirement, or certain other federal payments by direct deposit, federal law says your bank must protect at least 2 months' worth of those deposits from being garnished or seized. Even if you owe a debt, even if there's a court judgment against you, even if a debt collector is coming after your account. So if you get $1,400 a month from Social Security, that means the first $20,800 in your account that traces back to those federal deposits is supposed to be protected. A bank is legally required to look at your account, identify those protected funds, and make sure collectors can't touch them. That's the law. That protection exists for you right now. But here's where it gets tricky, and this is the part I really need you to pay attention to. That rule protects you from debt collectors and garnishment orders. It does not protect you from the bank itself. Stay with me here, because this distinction matters more than almost anything else I'm going to say today. If you owe your bank money, and I mean the actual bank where your account is held, they have what's called a right of offset. That means they can, under certain conditions, apply the money in your account toward a debt you owe them. An overdue credit card from the same bank, an overdraft that was never repaid, a loan that went into default. Now, Social Security rules say this shouldn't happen with benefit payments. There are protections in place, but the enforcement of those protections is not perfect. And in 2026, as more banks update their terms of service and as economic pressures mount, we are seeing more reports from beneficiaries who are being caught off guard by this. This is why so many financial advocates are now telling Social Security recipients to be very careful about which bank holds their benefits. And I'll explain more about that in a minute. Now let's talk about something else that's getting a lot of attention right now, and that's the issue of account holds and verification delays. Here's the situation. Banks are under increasing pressure from federal regulators to crack down on fraud. That's actually a good thing in the big picture. Financial fraud costs billions of dollars every year, and a lot of it flows through bank accounts. So banks are investing in more aggressive fraud detection systems. AI-powered monitoring, pattern recognition, behavioral analysis, all of it designed to flag unusual activity. The problem is that these systems are not perfect, and they are flagging legitimate transactions, including Social Security deposits, in ways that cause real disruptions for real people. Imagine this. You're 72 years old. You've been receiving your Social Security deposit on the second Wednesday of every month for the past decade. Same amount, same account, same everything. And then, one month, your bank system flags it because something in their algorithm looked unusual. Maybe you made a large withdrawal the week before. Maybe you got a paper check from a family member. Maybe you called customer service from a new phone number. Whatever the reason, the system flags it, and now your deposit is on a temporary hold. You go to use your debit card at the grocery store. Declined. You check your balance online. It shows the deposit, but there's a hold on it. You call the bank. They tell you it could take 24 to 72 hours to resolve. You're on a fixed income. You don't have a cushion. That 3-day delay is not an inconvenience. It is a crisis. This is happening to people, right now, across the country, and while it usually does resolve, the emotional and practical toll on seniors and disabled individuals who depend on that money is real, and it's serious. So what does this mean for you? Let me give you some practical guidance here, because I don't want to just scare you and send you on your way. I want you to leave this video with a real action plan. First, and this is probably the most important thing I'll tell you, make sure your Social Security deposit is going into an account that is dedicated to receiving that benefit. What I mean is, if you can, avoid having your Social Security deposit land in the same account where you also have a credit card, a loan, or any kind of debt with that bank. The whole right of offset issue I mentioned earlier, it becomes much more of a risk when your benefit account and your debt account are at the same institution. A lot of people don't realize this until it's too late. Second, consider what's called a Direct Express card, or a separate benefit-specific bank account. The Direct Express card is a prepaid debit card managed through the U.S. Treasury specifically for federal benefit recipients. It's been around for years, it's legitimate, and it offers certain protections that a regular bank account doesn't. It's not perfect. There are fees and limitations. But for some people, especially those who've had trouble with banks in the past, it is worth knowing about. Third, and this one is simple but powerful, set up alerts. Most banks and credit unions will let you set up text or email notifications for every deposit, every withdrawal, and any time your balance drops below a certain amount. If something happens to your deposit, you want to know about it immediately, not 3 days later when you're standing at the pharmacy trying to pick up your medication. Fourth, know your rights. I want to say this again clearly. If you receive Social Security, SSI, VA benefits, or railroad retirement by direct deposit, federal law protects at least 2 months of those deposits from being seized by debt collectors through a garnishment order. If your bank fails to honor that protection, you have the right to dispute it. You can contact the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You can contact your state's banking regulator. You can contact a legal aid organization. These protections exist, and they can be enforced. Now, let me take a step back and talk about something that a lot of people are asking about in 2026, and that's the broader question of what the Social Security Administration itself is doing in response to some of these banking issues. The SSA has been working to improve the direct deposit system for years. They've partnered with Treasury to ensure that benefit payments are clearly coded when they arrive at banks so that financial institutions can properly identify them as protected federal funds. They've also been updating their own internal guidance to better protect recipients who encounter banking problems. But here's the honest truth. The SSA cannot control what individual banks do once that deposit arrives. They can set the rules, they can code the payments, they can advocate for recipients. But the actual moment-to-moment management of your bank account is between you and your bank. That's why your own awareness is so critical. And speaking of awareness, let me talk about scams for a minute. Because anytime there's news or confusion around Social Security and banking, the scammers come out of the woodwork. And in 2026, they are more sophisticated than ever. Here is what a real scam looks like right now. You get a phone call, a text message, or an email telling you that due to new banking regulations, your Social Security deposit is at risk. They tell you that to protect your funds, you need to verify your information or transfer your money to a secure account or provide your banking details over the phone. They may even have your name. They may know the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. They may sound completely official. I need you to hear this loud and clear. The Social Security Administration will never call you and ask for your bank account information. They will never tell you that your account is being frozen and that you need to act right now. They will never ask you to transfer your money to a different account to protect it. If you receive any communication like this, hang up. Do not click any links. Do not provide any information. Call the real SSA directly at 1-800-772-1213 to verify anything related to your account. This is not a small issue. Social Security scams cost American seniors hundreds of millions of dollars every year. And the people running these scams know exactly how to create fear and urgency. Because fear makes people act without thinking. Don't let them do that to you. Now let me talk about what's changing specifically in 2026 and what the future looks like for Social Security and banking. One of the big conversations happening right now at the federal level is around modernizing how benefit payments work. There are proposals being discussed, some more advanced than others, around moving toward more real-time payment systems where your deposit doesn't just land in your account once a month, but is more fluidly available. There are also ongoing discussions about strengthening protections for benefit recipients at the banking level, particularly around the right of offset issue I described earlier. None of these changes have been fully implemented yet as of early 2026, but they are moving through the regulatory and legislative process. What that means for you is that the rules around your Social Security deposit may continue to evolve over the next year or two. And that's why staying informed, really staying informed, not just occasionally glancing at headlines, is one of the most important things you can do for your financial security. There are also changes happening at the state level. Several states have passed or are in the process of passing additional protections for benefit recipients that go beyond federal minimums. If you live in a state with strong consumer banking protections, you may have additional rights that most people don't know about. It is absolutely worth looking up what your state's rules are or asking a local legal aid organization to walk you through it. Let me also say something to the family members and caregivers who might be watching this. If you have a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, or a friend who receives Social Security and is not the most tech-savvy person in the world, please share this information with them. Sit down with them. Help them set up bank alerts. Help them understand their rights. Help them know who to call if something goes wrong. Because a lot of the people who get hurt by these banking issues are people who didn't have someone in their corner helping them navigate the system. You being here, watching this video, learning about this, that matters. That could be the difference between someone losing access to their funds for a week or getting it sorted out in 24 hours because they knew what to do. Here's a quick summary of everything I want you to walk away with today. Check where your Social Security deposit is going and make sure that account doesn't have debt tied to it at the same bank. Set up instant alerts for your account so you know the moment anything changes. Know that federal law protects at least 2 months of your benefit deposits from garnishment by debt collectors. and know who to call if that protection is violated. Watch out for scams that use fear and urgency to trick you into giving up your banking information. And stay plugged in to any new 2026 updates from the Social Security Administration, because the rules around banking and benefits are actively evolving. Your Social Security benefit is not just a payment. For millions of Americans, it is the foundation of everything: rent, food, medication, dignity. Protecting that deposit from the moment it leaves the government's hands to the moment you can actually use it is something that should never be taken for granted. Don't leave money on the table. Don't let a bank policy you didn't know about catch you off guard. Don't let a scammer steal what you've earned. Stay informed, check your account regularly, set up those alerts, know your rights, and please share this video with someone you care about who receives Social Security. Because the more people understand how this works, the harder it is for anyone to take advantage of them. You've got this, and I'll see you in the next one.